So we're in chapter 9 here now. We're on part B. So in part A, we used a geometric series to help solve a couple problems there. And maybe that seems a little bit weird. But now we're talking about geometric series a little bit more detailed so you get an idea of what it means and how it gets there. So a geometric series is formed by starting with a number and then multiplying by some number r by each term in order to create that next term. So that pattern of multiplication can help us determine if the series is going to converge or diverge. So in this formula box here, my a is my starting value, and then my r is my multiplier. So this r to the n is going to dictate how many times I've multiplied to get to that nth term. And then we're going to have an infinite number of these. So this little box over here, it looks like it got chopped off on my PDF conversion. So the series converges to the sum of a over 1 minus r, which we saw in packet A that I used, only if r is less than 1, the absolute value of r. If we're multiplying by a number that's bigger than 1, then of course each term is going to be larger as we keep multiplying, and then that sum is going to add larger and larger numbers. So in order to have a chance to have a series converge, we need to make sure that each number we're adding is at least smaller than the one before. So that would happen if we're multiplying by a number that is less than 1. And we have the absolute value in here just in case, say it's a negative 1/3. Well, I'm still multiplying by that absolute value less than 1, so I'm still shrinking. It just happens to be a negative value instead of a positive value. All right, so then here we go here for our comment notation here. So verbally, our sum is the first term over a 1 minus the common ratio, and common ratio is just the r. That's all that means. And this is if and only if you've never seen that abbreviation, IFF, if and only if. So that is an if then statement that goes either way. So a series converges if and only if r is between -1 and 1, and then this goes back vice versa. If my r is between -1 and 1, then the series will converge. And this is going to create our interval of convergence. So based on some sort of bounds here, we can determine when we're going to converge and for what values. All right, and this convergence is because we're talking about a geometric. This isn't just any sort of series that has some sort of r involved. All right, so determine if the following geometrics that are telling us they're geometric is going to converge or diverge. So then we're looking for my absolute value of r to be less than 1, or we're looking for my absolute value of r to be greater than or equal to 1 for divergent. All right, so starting, I'm going to rewrite our form over here, right? We've got a r to the n. So we want our starting value, then our multiplier. So if I can clean this up a little bit, I would. And you know what a different way is that we can write out the terms. Let's try to write the terms out first. So if I write the terms out, right, I'm going to evaluate at n of 1 first. So my first term is going to be 2 squared multiplied by 5 to the first. And then I change that to a 2. So now that's 2 to the 4th multiplied by 5 to the 0. And then I change it to a 3. So that's 2 to the 6th plus 5 to the -1 plus ... All right, so now what's happening here from term to term, I see that this is going to determine my r. I am multiplying by a 2 squared each time, but then I also notice my 5 is decreasing here. So then it's really a 5 to the -1. So that's 4 over 5. So my r, so my absolute value of r is less than 1. So therefore, we're going to converge. So now to find my sum, I have a over 1 minus r. A is your first term. So if I come back over here to my 2 squared times 5, that tells me that I've got a 20 as my first term. My 4/5 is my r. So then I have 20 over 1/5, and that's going to be 100. All right, now moving on to question 2. So now it's not in sigma notation. They just gave you all the terms. So I want to figure out what I'm multiplying by and note the directions. Remember, they're telling us it's geometric, so we don't have to search too far to figure out what our technique is going to be here. So looking at all of these decimals here, right, if you just focus on one thing at a time, my denominator is multiplying by 3, and my numerator is multiplying by 2, and I am changing signs. So if I'm changing signs, or I'm multiplying by negative, and I've got my 2/3. So the absolute value of r is less than 1, so then I'm going to converge. And this is like the step you needed for like increasing and decreasing. Or you need your verification step to know what you're talking about. So that is the absolute value of r less than 1. It's going to be convergent. Make sure you're writing this portion in to your final answer. Don't just say r is negative 2/3, therefore it's convergent. Apply your rule correctly. So now if we go to our sum, it's going to be a over 1 minus r. My first term is 4/3. It's right in the list. And then I've got 1 minus, and I'm just going to write it as a negative 2/3. Right, so we know that's going to be plus the positive. So then I really have 4/3 over 5/3. So right flip and simplify, so my sum is going to be a 4/5. All right, moving on here to number 3 here. So I just have 2/5. So if I wrote out the terms here, it's going to be 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5, because there's no I here to change anything. So I'm going to keep adding 2/5. So if I keep adding 2/5, then I'm going to be a divergent series. Nothing is changing. So what am I multiplying by from one to the other? If you're going to tell me it's geometric, it's going to be a 1. So that tells me my r is greater than or equal to 1, which means it's divergent. All right, moving on here to number 4. So I'm multiplying the numerator by an e, and I'm multiplying the denominator by a 2. So e is, well, it's like 2.7 something. So then here my absolute value of r is greater than or equal to 1, so we are going to be divergent. All right, moving on to the next page here. We have our geometric series. They say it's interesting because it opens up a lot. It is. It's the original. That's why we're talking about it first. You're going to see this often, so make sure you feel comfortable with it. And now when they call it a power series, what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a variable x into the problem here. So not only can my series is going to change, it's not going to be consistent as a number pattern. Maybe the value of x can also change that pattern. So what I mean is over here, my r is going to be a fixed value that I'm going to multiply by each time. But over here, when I change it over, I'm going to change that to the variable x, and now we're going to have some bounds. And usually when you see the variable x, it just means that more values are opened up to you, and sometimes people think the variable r is more restrictive. But you can see it's going to be the same thing, right? We're going to end up with our same sum because our sum is calculated as a over 1 minus r, and you can see we're starting off with the value of 1. So it goes to the same concept. It goes to the same place. All right, so, but the power series is going to have the x in it. The power series is going to be with us for the remainder of chapter 9. And being centered at 0, it's just like a horizontal shift in any other problem here. So if you're centered at 0, you would just write x, just like if we had a circle, right, with the center of the circle at 0, we don't account for anything. But if we wanted to shift that center over, then we would have to make our shifts in our equation to make that happen. And this is the same thing. So if you see some sort of a +1, a -3, inside your parentheses here in these positions, so in these positions where x will occur, then that looks like this was a typo over here. That should be x to the end. And then that quantity would be something like x plus 1 times a, and then we're going to add a sub 2, and then we'd have x plus 1 quantity squared dot dot dot. This is going to tell us that our center has been shifted as opposed to one that is center at 0. So that's the equation difference that you're going to notice, but that should be something that you've seen in the past in your math experience. All right, a power series will either converge for all x, it's going to converge on a finite interval, so something like between -1 and 1, or it's only going to converge at the center, right? You can imagine, so if we're centered at 0, if x equals 0, and we look at this list, well, everything that has an x in it is going to be a 0, so all you're going to do is add it up, and your sum is going to be your a sub 0. So that's pretty easy to figure out. There's an answer. So it's either, so this is a power series now. It has an x. This isn't just a generic series like we had before, where if you're multiplying sort of like your geometric series with an r greater than 1, it's going to diverge. A power series has an x in it. So it's either going to go for all reals on an interval or only at the 1 point. All right, so a geometric series here. So which one does it fall into? Well, it's going to be convergent on an interval, right? Because that's based on our r has to be between -1 and 1. But if we are in that divergent status, right, if our r is bigger than 1, then it will always converge if we're at our center. So it kind of hits both of these categories. It's really not going to be convergent for all values because that multiplier does make a difference in how it is addressed. That is it for today. Thank you very much.